And just like that, we are back to wrestling. It was only one episode, but that's okay because now we have another one coming to you from the wrestling side of things, and this one was actually a request. Thank you to that person that sent in an email to make sure that this could happen, and I made sure to get a special guest for this one that give us a little bit of a different perspective than we have seen so far. Because so far, for the wrestling ones, I have brought in either professional wrestler or somebody from The Office, if you will. For this one, I went a little bit different. Since it was a fan suggestion, why not get somebody that comes at this from a fan perspective before the business side? Now, he does do content for himself, and I'll make sure to leave his links down below as well so you can check out all the content that he puts out as well. So I thought it'd be the best, bigger fan perspective, if you will, as we talk about the Armageddon Hell in a Cell 6-man match, which is first and basically only of its kind because there's never really been a 6-man Hell in a Cell before or since. So, without further ado, enjoy my conversation with RJ the Heel, because he's going to put you over. Enjoy.
Well, oh man, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's probably going to be the most controversial episode that I have ever done in the history of the Miss Retrospective, which we're only 8 episodes in so far. But I'm kind of scared. But before we get into all that stuff, welcome everybody to the Miss Retrospective. My name's Kirby Carreon. I'm your host here, and I am here with a very special guest, a man who I've known for, I want to say, maybe a year or so, but we could have been known each other for almost 7-8 years now after we talked a little bit off camera about your history of, for reality wrestling and everything. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the one and only RJ the Heel. That's what I'm going to call you because that's your tag and everything.
Absolutely.
RJ, that way people know a little bit about you. What are you about? How did you get into wrestling? What is your history with wrestling? Because I feel you're the first wrestling person I've had on here that's not a wrestler.
So my history with wrestling, WrestleMania 14 was when I really got bit by the bug. Growing up, I had the Wrestle Buddies, of course, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, the Golden Era. I had a little bit of that, but I was young. I was very, very young. So I had only what was given to me and what was bought for me. I was excited about those things. I was a Monito fan, very, very big Monito fan. No matter what they were, that's little action figures for those who don't know. I was very into those. So anything that had to do with that, I was into. But around WrestleMania 14, my cousin invited us over to his house for his birthday party, and they just happened to have WrestleMania 14 playing. So we got to watch it. I saw the whole Mike Tyson, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, and I was completely blown away. Completely blown away because I had never seen wrestling like that. I was the last time I had saw wrestling, it didn't look like that. It didn't look anything like that. So the next night I was hooked. I was watching Raw. I was like, this is amazing. I found WCW Monday Night Nitro. And I'm telling you, this is the honest to God's truth, and I will die on this hill. The only reason that I watched WCW was because it started at 7 o'clock and because Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Growing up as an Afro-Latino kid and watching the way maybe certain images of people of color might have been projected at that time. And I'm not woe is me. I'm just saying that's the way it is. But we're moving from those days, and I'm a fan of you are who you project yourself to be. So being able to see, Booker, do that because he didn't look like anybody else, and he was getting it. Come on, man. He was getting it. So just to be able to see that was just amazing. And that was why we held on to WCW. But at 8 o'clock, Central Time, we would switch to USA and we would watch Monday Night Raw. But WCW always did an encore at the end of the night. So we would go back and rewatch WCW. So we did watch both, but we were hardcore WWF fans. So after that, I was completely just bitten by the bug. Long story short, I followed everything up until around 2001, 2002. I started to kind of fall off of it. I kind of got into my teenage years, and I found out. You guys know, I found out. And I was actually more saddened. This is another honest to God's truth. I was more saddened to find out that this business is entertainment than I was to find out that Santa Claus was not real.
I feel you.
That didn't bother me. And I actually...
Sorry to the children listening.
Yeah, sorry to the children listening. And anybody who... It's still real to us and to you watching. But to find that out, it really did hurt me. It hurt me to the point where when I found that out, it began to be okay that I was missing episodes, and to the point where I didn't love it anymore. I was just so heartbroken and let down. I just couldn't believe, how, wait a minute, how, And I fell away from it. Got into high school, got into girls, got into all, the cool stuff. Well, fast forward, I had my kiddo, my oldest, who's 13, shout out Reagan Marie. She's about 3 years old. We're flipping through actually, I think she's like younger. She's probably about 2. We're flipping through the channels, and those of you that have kids know that once they start walking and crawling, they want to go up to the TV and stand there. Well, I was flipping through the channels, and I passed up Monday Night Raw, and it was Mark Henry. And I was like, man, I haven't seen him or wrestling in years. Like, this is around 2013. Mm-hmm. So I have been away from wrestling for about 15 years or so. So I, watched it for a split second. I was like, whatever. And I go to change it. She turns around, she looks at me like, what are you doing? So I change it back. She starts staring at it again. So long story short, I started watching it again because of her. And that's been 2013 up until now. So 12 years, yeah. So I saw all of Dusty's kiddos come in. I saw the early days of NXT. I saw, the early days of the Shield. I saw all of Roman's run from beginning to now. John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, so I saw a lot of that. So it was cool to kind of, get back into it, and that's really kind of how I got back into it.
Hell yeah. All right. It's really funny, hearing people tell their stories about how they fell out of love with wrestling, but they fell back in, because for me, that's just such an awkward thing. I hear about the lapsed fans all the time, but I never fell out of love with it. I've watched every episode since 2004. The moment I got cable, then I started moving on to Raw and ECW or WWE, ECW and everything. And for me, it's just my brain can't comprehend. Just I don't like this anymore. But let me come back in 10 years and go over it again. And
it was total accident, because even when I got into it, I was like, okay, and I started watching, but I don't know, it just it clicked for me that, okay, it's so beautiful. Of course it's not real. Of course. And that's what makes it so great, because you did your job. You bamboozled me. And I love it. And I'm going to continue. So that's what it was for me. And I think it's one of those things, once you grow up and you see it, you're like, and that's what it was. People tell me now, they're like, oh, so you're in wrestling, you're in the wrestling business. I was like, yeah, I kind of dabble in it, I'm working towards it, and I'm getting more confident saying when people say you're in the wrestling business, I say yes, and that when people tell me it's fake, right? I'm like, yeah, so is your favorite movie.
That's my favorite line by people.
Yeah. And I'm like, so is your favorite movie? Mission Impossible, every one of those explosions got done 8 times. You take a bump once. You know what I'm saying? There's no cut. So, and that's what made me fall in love with it, just realizing that, okay, we're telling a story. And I've always been a book reader, avid book reader. I love reading books. I love, fiction. I'm really into nonfiction now that I'm older. But I really love books. So once I realized, okay, not only is it an art, I was like, and that's when I started to respect it again. When I came back, I'm like, okay, it's an art. Okay, it's a word, but it's an art, because not everybody can do it. It's hard work. So once I accepted that, I'm like, okay, and that began to be my thing. It's an athletic sport. Most of your top athletes in any game can't come in and do this. It's different. It's an athletic sport, but it's different. So once I began to say that, I was like, okay. And then I don't know, just one day, the storytelling, I began to analyze myself. I was like, so what was it? Because now I was watching and I could see, okay, all right, I get it now.
Yeah.
So, but what intrigued me and what keeps us coming back? And that's when I began to realize it's the storytelling. It's the storytelling. And one of the things that really kind of gets me today, so when I was rewatching the match that we're going to talk about, I hadn't watched it since the time that I watched it when it was actually happening. And when I watched it, I was watching the match. I was like, this is awesome. I like this. But I began to I was like, how did I feel as a kid when I saw it? I was so ah. So I actually found a about an hour and a half clip that somebody had put together where they had put all the promos and stuff that were leading up to it. So I went back and watched that after I had watched it. And I was like, that's what it is. I was like, that's what it is. And that's really where my love is now. It's okay, let's tell the story. let's see if this is entertaining, or see if people love this, or see if people hate this, or why do they hate this guy? Do they like the way he talks? Or why does this character talk the way he talks? Why does he dress the way he dresses? And that's what I begin to look at with these characters. So when I see a lot of people, you know, in the IWC is what they call it, or
the internet wrestling community, yeah.
And it took me a little bit to find out. I'm probably, you know, aging myself by saying some of that stuff. But I was like, IWC. I was like, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not part of that community. I'm actually in here. Okay, so you hear that and you hear, oh, well, I don't like this character. And a lot of the times, people are not liking the character because they don't understand why this character talks the way he talks, why he dresses the way he dresses, why he walks the way he walks. And that's what I feel that we've lost with looking at wrestling. Like LA Knight right now. Say what you want about LA Knight. I think LA Knight is on fire. But I think the thing that I organically like about LA Knight is he reminds me of the word, I'm going to say it, a wrestler. Mm-hmm. I love that word. I love the word professional wrestler. To me, there's nothing wrong with that word. I like the fact that LA Knight he feels like a professional wrestler. Like just his whole entire, the way he acts, the way he talks, the way he walks, he just reminds me of a genuinely organic. If you look at that guy and say, that guy's a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? Like he just has that old school, like, you know, Magnum PI, like old school look. Like that dude's rugged, bro. Like, you know, and sometimes he walks around with dip in his mouth. So I was like, man, that's super rugged, dude. Like back in the day, the dudes used to smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like cut promos with cigarettes in their hands. And not that I'm, you know, condoning smoking cigarettes, but I'm just saying like just that raw, like back in the day, man, the wrestlers looked like they were guys that you could go to a bar and have a fight with. Like they could really beat you up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I really like about LA Knight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on a tangent, but just talking about characters and about story. And like I said, that's what I began to just learn being here and learn just being inside the business and seeing from this side of the curtain and understanding, like I said, what goes through. Like when Unreal came out, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. But here's the thing. I was like, man, I don't really know if I want to do this. Like, I don't know. But then it hit me one day. I was like, but wait a minute. Like, that's what I do now. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's what I do now. But I'm going to watch it. I've just been kind of waiting just to find some time to do it with everything else that I'm doing. But yeah, like just seeing it from this side and just knowing what it takes to just say, okay, we can't just put a belt on this guy. Like it's got to make sense, you know. But not only does it have to make sense, if we do it, can he continue to carry it? Like, will people love him with the belt as much as they did without it? And like that's my thing with Cody. Like I absolutely love Cody Rhodes. Absolutely love Cody Rhodes. I love his story. Like I know we say story, but I really do. To be able to go out and do what he did and like really believe in himself, whether they called him or not, he was gonna do what he wanted to do, and that's what it was. It wasn't always just about whether WWE was gonna call him back. It was about doing what he wanted to do and not being controlled by people who told him that he couldn't do it or maybe didn't believe at the time that he could do it. I absolutely love him, but I will honestly say I love Cody on the chase more than I do having him as champion. And it's not that he's not a good champion. I think he's a phenomenal champion. I think he's a great wrestler. He's a great he cuts great promos. He does great work with the guys that he's in the ring with. His selling is phenomenal. His storytelling is phenomenal. What's going on with him, we can talk at another episode, but I mean, there is so many, theories going around as to whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, and I kept pushing it away, but man, as a heel myself, man, you start to see little things, you're like, wait a minute, I think we might have a little Homelander on our hands.
I'm starting to buy into the theory that he's the one that attacked Jacob Fatu.
Yes.
I've seen that theory fly online, and I'm like,
are you talking about who I think you're talking about, who keeps posting it?
I'm not sure, because I've seen it several times on Twitter.
Okay, there's one person that I follow. Yeah, there's one person that I follow who's been saying it. I mean, saying it like crazy, and people already probably know who he is. But he's been saying it. And at first, I thought, I was like, man, you're just wishing it. You're wishing it. Mm-hmm. But he really put stuff together. He's like, I'm telling you, he's not pulling the wool over my eyes. He's like, this guy is terrible. But like I said, I personally like to see Cody on the chase. But like I said, it's not that he's a bad champion or not that he's not doing. I don't know. I just like him better on the chase. But I realized that that's the things you have to think about. Like now that they have the belt, are we still invested? So just learning, like I said, that part of the business and learning that there's so many different aspects. You know, one of the, you know, greatest things about wrestling to me was commentating, you know, and that's, you know, not me being biased, being I'm sitting. I mean, I honestly, you know, believe that. JR had said one time that, you know, they're dancing. He's just, you know, providing the music, you know, and it's absolutely true. Like with the first wrestling show I ever went to, I was like, why can't I hear anybody? Like, I didn't know that you couldn't hear the commentators, you know? So I had to actually, you know, be like, okay, this is kind of different. But now I understand it. But now if you watch my vlogs or you hear, I commentate myself just because I like to hear people talking or saying something funny or, you know, what's going on. But definitely, like, just in telling the story and realizing that commentating can make or break a match. You know, I mean, you can have two tremendous athletes in the ring, but those watching at home might completely miss that based off of maybe the way commentating is going. I mean, that's not a shot, but that's just things that I'm learning. Yeah. Like, you know, you don't think about that stuff.
Trust me, as a commentator, I'm so critical of my work.
Yeah, and then you understand the stories of people having, you know, somebody yell in their ear like, "Don't say that," because, you know, you get it, you know, so I understand. I'm starting to understand. That's, like I said, that's what I love. This is just, it's an amazing business, amazing place to be. And I've heard it before, and I say that I can live it now, that if you're fortunate enough to be in this business, like, and you really love it, like, you know, like, thank God and count your days, because not everybody gets to be able to do it. And I know it may look like anybody and everybody can just walk through the door, but it's really not like that. It's not overnight success for anybody. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into putting on these matches and putting on stories and you know, building talent building themselves and helping them, you know, continuously grow, you know, to tell stories for the next generation. Because like I said, here I am, you know, later in my years that most people would say like, oh, you know, you're probably too old. But the thing is, I mean, most of your millionaires and stuff aren't millionaires until after they're like 40 or something. So, you know, I think society has put a limit on the age, so-called, on what you can and cannot do, you know. So I think just to be able to sit in this business and look back, you know, 13 years ago, it's because of my daughter, is how I fell back in love with. And this is really my first love. Like, honestly, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. But it's after I had found out, you know, I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, you know, but, you know, when I realized, like, wait a minute, yeah, I do want to do that, you know? So that's kind of how, you know, why I'm here. You know, like I said, anything that I can do to help grow the business or help talk about the business or, you know, just make it great for the next generation, you know, because, you know, if things go right, you know, the Lord tarries and the world don't go to hell in a handbasket, you know, and my kids are fortunate enough to, you know, be blessed and grow up and have kids, like, you know, there may be some stories that they could watch, you know, based on something that we did, something, you know, that we helped a story tell that would transition. I mean, we look at the bloodline, I mean, like, Rikishi was one of my guys, like, you know, me being, you know, gordito growing up, like, that was the thing for me too. Like, I was like, man, he may be Samoan, but hey, he looks like I look, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't all look like Rock and Booker T. So I had feelings for things like that too. So, you know, being able to like I said, watch people that could, you know, look like me or look like somebody else, just show us that, man, like, there's so many different things that we can do. And because of those matches and because of our love for, like, you know, like The Rock and Rikishi, like, we got stories like with the bloodline. Because of Roe, we got, you know, like the Usos and, you know, main event Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, you know. So it's just really cool, like, telling these stories, like, down the line, like, my kids are probably going to be watching Jimmy and Jay's kids if it, you know, goes that way. So it's just cool. You know, who knows, maybe, you know, 10 years down the line, you know, my daughter will have a conversation like this and be like, hey, Dad and Kirby were, you know, working at Row and this is how it happened. So, you know, stuff like that. So that's, sorry to go on a tangent, but yeah,
hey, it's our shared space. And I always love hearing passionate stories from people.
Thank you.
And again, the reason that I wanted to speak with you specifically about this match is because I haven't had a fan perspective on this show yet.
Okay.
Because I've always had wrestlers on, and obviously the last episode it was a movie episode, so it was somebody that, you know, I love as a cinephile. So, you know, for the first time to get somebody to send me a match suggestion that I know is a fan favorite match, and again, I went in blind, I didn't know anything, and I was like, okay, let's just set the stage here, that way people get an idea of how much you actually love this. I didn't just pluck a random person off the street, be like, you're a wrestling fan, right? And so, like, it's really good and lets your credence and your credibility for your stance on this match too.
Okay. Thank you.
With that said, the match we're going to be talking about today is the Armageddon Hell in a Cell 6-man, the first and only of its kind thus far.
Yeah.
And this match was suggested to my email by Keith Settle. So shout out Keith. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Hopefully you enjoy the episode, because boy, oh boy, am I about to ruin your day. Right out of the gate, here's your job, right? Here's your job. I need you to change my mind on this match.
Okay.
Because I was not a fan of it.
What?
I was not a fan of it.
Why?
And that's why I said this is going to be controversial.
Oh, here you go.
Because this is the first time I have watched a match for this series.
Okay.
And again, I want to continue saying this, and I'm going to say it through every single episode. I'm not here to disparage anybody's work. I'm not here to say that something was terrible. Maybe I'm missing the point, because sometimes you need context in order for something to be incredible, right?
Okay.
I could tell people day in and day out that Sami Zayn winning the NXT Championship is the greatest match of all time in WWE history.
And that's the one where Kevin Owens turned on him?
Yes, at the end.
Okay, yeah.
But if somebody watches that match, they're like, that was just the standard match where Sammy won. Sure, that's how they see it, because there's no context behind it.
Yeah.
But you have to watch the 9 months prior leading to that moment.
And I personally think that was one of Sammy's greatest runs.
I genuinely...
I like short hair Sammy.
I love Sammy. He's my favorite wrestler currently. He finally filled the Eddie Guerrero size heart in my heart.
Really?
So yeah, like for the longest time, I did not have like a favorite wrestler until Sami Zayn came around and the 2013-2014 run happened. So I think that match is genuinely the greatest thing that WWE has ever produced, because it means something to me. But again, with context, okay, sure, people get it. But if I were to show any random person this match from, like, let's say 20 years from now, like it's 2035, right?
Yeah.
And then I tell people this match is the greatest thing I've ever seen, then they watch it, they're like, okay, that was a good match. You know, there was a little untold story between the match and everything, but they're not going to understand that Neville was that unbeatable champion.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand that Sammy fought for this. He beat Titus O'Neil. He beat Tyson Kidd. He beat Tyler Breeze to get to this shot.
Yeah.
And then he got screwed. And then he finally got the rematch where he's like, after this, if I don't beat you, I leave NXT.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's the stakes and everything, right?
Okay.
So, again, that's why I wanted to preface that by saying right out of the gate, I was like, I don't get the love for this match, because when I think Hell in a Cell, I think chaos and I think absolute brutality, especially, you know, back in the 90s, going into the 2000s, because that was the Attitude Era. That's when everything was still, you know, let's not necessarily be ECW, but let's, you know, push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody's bleeding. Everybody's, like, you know, doing crazy spots, and it's for the moment, so to speak, but not the wrestling, like I said, that I've been watching recently on the episodes. Like, I watched Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and I was like, holy crap, that was incredible. To where even my wife was like, holy crap, that was incredible. And she doesn't even watch wrestling. She doesn't like wrestling. So, you know, I've watched a lot of stuff here over the last, you know, month and a half since I started doing this, and I've seen a lot of old work that people are like, hey, this still stands the test of time. I'm like, okay, cool. And I watched it, like, holy crap, have I not been watching this? And I've done Japanese matches. I've done all kinds of stuff. But this was the first time where I'm like, I don't get it. So, with that said,
all right, let's see.
I guess paint me a picture, aside from, like, you know, the little preview that they do before the match where Vince McMahon and Mick Foley were kind of like arguing about, I guess because he was the commissioner, and Vince McMahon was the you know, the owner of the company and everything, so they were at odds. And then Mick Foley wanted the Hell in a Cell match to determine the next WWF champion, which at the time was being held by Kurt Angle. And this was all kind of like intertwining stories, which I love intertwined stories. That's cool. Because I think it was like Triple H messing with Stone Cold, with Kurt Angle. And then Rikishi and The Rock had their story, because the year prior was when the I Did It for The Rock story happened. And then Stone Cold, obviously he's just Stone Cold with Vince McMahon. And then The Undertaker was just trying to reclaim the championship, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, that's kind of the story. I get how they're all intertwined, but it just really felt disjointed for me. And I get that they all wanted to be the WWF champion. I fully get that. But there was, I feel like the match itself was just an afterthought. It didn't need to sell. It was just there for the spot for Rikishi, and that was it. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It just really felt like, it didn't even feel like a match. They were just brawling everywhere, which I get. It's chaos, yes. And also, funny story, I texted this to Kevin, and it cracked me up, because we know Triple H is a master of the game, right? No pun intended.
Absolutely.
And it cracked me up that Stone Cold like rakes his head over the Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
And then he puts him down over by the ring.
camera cuts.
And he
Austin
blades,
walks away.
obviously.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and then he does the shot again.
Yeah.
Just so Triple H can get the shot of him like going across the steel
So
with the
because
blood.
you brought that up, it lets me know how far we can go in talking.
We can take it wherever you want. So
Okay.
you bring a point for, we can always keep coming back
The
and
only thing
forth.
I'm going to say is when you said that, back to how we watch it now. So
Yeah.
I watch wrestling like I'm in it now.
Yeah.
So a lot of times a move will happen and my heart will skip because I'm like, I don't like the way he landed. Like, I've finally been looking for a platform to say this on. I do not like the Penta Driver.
Okay.
It scares me. It
The
scares me.
Destroyer or the actual Penta Driver?
The Penta Driver.
Okay.
The Destroyer is phenomenal.
Okay.
I do not like the Penta Driver. I do not like picking them up and them turning, because every single time you go back and watch it, it looks like there is a nanosecond where if they do not tuck their head, it's over. And I understand tuck your chin. I get it. But I don't like that move. It scares me, and I'm waiting for someone just to be like, you know what, it scares me too. Let's just not do it. I would rather it be quit before somebody lands wrong than someone needs to land wrong and us say, okay, maybe we shouldn't do it.
Well, it seems like they've done away with it recently because now he's doing the Mexican Destroyer as a finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that that's what he's going to continue to do, because it's a nice move. I like the move. But every single time, my heart skips. Like, I have not seen it hit one time where I'm like, oh, that was good. That was smooth. No, every time I'm like, oh my God. Like,
So since you're talking about moves that scare you, you will never guess what my move that scares me is.
What?
The lumbar
Bonsai
check.
drop?
The lumbar check.
the lumbar check.
So the one that Cedric Alexander does, he lifts him up and then he drops him down right on his knees.
Oh, yeah,
that
dude.
one, to this
Yeah.
day, like people have explained it to me how it works and everything, but to this day, I'm just like, dog, that's scary. You could not pay me to trust somebody for me to fall on their knees like that.
Oh, man.
Nah, fam. I would be squirming in the air. I was like, nope, just let me go, dude.
Oh man, the Styles Clash scares me. It only scares me when people are caught in it. When they jump off something, but if he just straight up grabs him and does it, he stands there and he's carrying the momentum. It's fine. But when it's like he's doing like he's moving and he catches them and it scares me. But I think I would be willing to take that move every night and I'd be okay. But yeah, the Penta Driver, I don't think I would take it once.
Okay.
Like I don't know. It's scary. It's a good move, but it's scary. So I've been waiting for a place to say it. I don't like it because it scares me.
There you go. We're gonna clip that, and it's gonna be out into the abyss. So again, like the match, it's funny because normally like we go through the match and I say things that I liked and everything, but literally like there wasn't anything that stood out to me.
Yeah.
That I was like, this is cool. This is what I want to talk about. And again, that's not to say that I don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I do
That's
have
the match,
notes, notes upon notes.
Yeah.
But it's just like. There was, I guess, I felt disjointed because I had no connection to the characters. And again, I know this is a very beloved match.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because nostalgia plays a factor into a lot of the attitude
I think that has a
era.
lot to do with it. But I believe it's really story. And the reason why I say that, because like I said, I had watched it. And I was like, this is exciting. But I was like, why is everybody in here? Like, because I was looking at it, because it's one of those things that I feel like when I look at like the era that I grew up in that era, and I'm like, every single one of those guys was a star. Like, every single one. And I argue that sometimes that I feel that it's kind of hard to get a match like that today. And I'm not trying to like say that about anybody. I'm just saying literally how I feel. Like, I feel like back then, like this match, you had 3 faces and 3 heels. And you could literally watch that match at that time and say, well, either one of those 3 faces could win and I'll be fine. You just didn't want the heels to win. And you don't really get matches like that. Like if you get like when we had the Elimination Chamber, I think it was 2 years ago, the only thing that I could remember was how we thought Montez Ford was going to be the next hot cake.
Dude, I wanted him to win so bad.
Dude, he was killing it. Absolutely. But that's what I remember from that match.
Yeah.
That's it. There was other guys in there, and I can't remember who else was in there. I just remember everything that he was doing, and it was great. It was absolutely great. But I feel like when you think of that Hell in the Cell, those 6 guys, like every one of those guys were stars at that time, and then all ended up being legends. But at that time, they were all, white hot, dude. Like you couldn't argue with it. Like it was phenomenal. So I think with that match, like I think that's why a lot of people like it, because you're like, man, even if it's a bad match, you have 6 legends in there, but it wasn't a bad match. I don't personally think, based on the story, like you said, maybe I didn't have the context. Well, Triple H. So Triple H was like the big heel. This is around the McMahon-Helmsley era.
And he didn't even have his Motorhead music yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My Time. I was going to bring that up. That was one of my favorite things about watching that. I was like, oh, dang, he still had My Time. Like, that's one of my favorite themes.
I'm a Motorhead guy, so I'm biased.
Oh no, I like Motorhead too, and I love the Motorhead theme. Like I love some Motorhead's other music. You know, I've listened to a few of their songs based because of Triple H. I don't know every one of their songs, but I can play a Motorhead song and be like, oh yeah, this goes hard. I like it.
Hell yeah.
But just man, that My Time, bro. Like I don't know, it just reminds me of No Mercy on Nintendo 64. Like he had that theme in there. I played that for hours. But yeah, I like that theme. But yeah, they were all just legends at that time. But Triple H being the heel, there was the McMahon-Helmsley era, and the year before that was Survivor Series. There, Stone Cold got ran over. So this is all leading up to Austin's been gone. Austin's made his comeback. I want to know who the hell ran me over. So we're getting into that. We find out that it's Rikishi. So this is the first time where we have the fourth wall broken, and we realize that Rock and Rikishi are family by some form or another.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like, I did it for the family, like I did it. And man, like, look, let me tell you something right here. I said this a long time ago. That right there, that incident right there is why we got the bloodline. Because Stone Cold was going to win that night, brother, at Survivor Series. And Triple H took him out. And then what did he say he did? He did it only for The Rock. He didn't do it for anybody else. He did it because he knew that The Rock couldn't beat Stone Cold. But hey, that's a whole nother rabbit trail, guys. But like I said, Rikishi runs over Stone Cold, being paid. Later on, we find out by the commissioner, who is Mick Foley, that he was paid by Triple H to eliminate Stone Cold Steve Austin. So now we have Triple H and Stone Cold. So now Stone Cold wants Triple H because he knows without a shadow of a doubt he's the one, but he also wants Rikishi because he wants to kill Rikishi because he's like, you tried to basically kill me. So now you have these three. Now you have Undertaker going in a match with Kurt Angle, who ends up cheating, and that's how he ends up getting away. Okay. So he's running around, cheating around. There's also, who else was it that he fought? I have in my notes here. It was, and The Rock. He also did the same thing to The Rock. Fought for the championship and also cheated. So he's the champion. He's the biggest heel right now. So he's winning in ways that is not necessarily the best way of winning. So that's how you get these two wrapped up in it. How we get back into the promo where everybody just wants to beat up Kurt Angle. And he just happens to be the champion. The only person that actually cared about being champion was The Rock, Undertaker, and Triple H. Like, Austin just wanted his hands on Rikishi and Triple H. Like, he was just wanting to whoop some ass. And then Kurt Angle was just trying to survive.
That makes a lot more sense now, looking at Stone Cold's portion of this match.
Yes, that's how he was drug in. Let's say if you go to the promo and Undertaker's like, well, if I don't care about a title shot, but I want Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And well, he was like, well, Mick Foley's like, well, every time that Kurt Angle defends this title, somebody runs in and helps him out. Everybody wants to get their hands on Angle. Everybody wants to get their hands on Rikishi. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you guys in a Hell in a Cell so nobody can interfere in this match. And Kurt Angle can no longer run away because he's in the cage. Now, the cage just happens to be placed because our commissioner was retired at the time due to a Hell in the Cell match that he had previously just had with Triple H. So now Triple H again is the prime reason of why all of this is happening. So this is why Mick Foley's involved, and this is why we get Hell in a Cell. It was Mick's way of saying, this is the only way that I know with the amount of chaos that's going on here. You have people running people over. You have Stone Cold picking up a car with a forklift, which I forgot to say, and picking up 50 feet in the air and dropping it down on Triple H.
That was insane. They showed that little clip of it in the highlight package,
So you have total chaos. It's hell. So basically Mick's like, what do I do? The thing I know how to do. I can put them all in one place and they can't get out. Kurt can't run. Rikishi can't get a car. Austin can't get a forklift. Rock finally gets his hands on his title. Undertaker finally gets his hands on Kurt Angle, who just happens to have the title. And that's how we got these 6 legendary guys in a Hell in a Cell.
I like that too because, again, like the seeing that video package tells you like the little beats here and there and everything, but I did not pick up all of that because it's hard to tell that in like what I think back then the time limit was like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes or so. Which shout out to Kevin because he taught me that because there was like tight windows, and that's why like all my video packages that I used to do here for Row were like a specific time, and it's like you got to cut out 3 seconds. I'm like, but Kevin, this is so good. It's like 3 seconds. I'm like, okay. I'd have to find like little frames here and there to pick off and everything, and it's funny. Again, it's really hard to pick off those little moments
because you feel just everything. That little pinch will be like, oh, they missed it. They totally didn't get it. So that right there just completely re-encompasses the match, which again, I understand it's a very well-liked match, and maybe it's just because I didn't have the context. So far, you're building up that bar for me. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get it now. Because again, like the match was Stone Cold just chasing after Rikishi and that's Triple H. And that makes sense. And when we talk about ring psychology, that's what you got to think about. Because from the get-go, he's like, I don't care about this. I have to go after Triple H and Rikishi. So that makes a lot more sense. And I believe the only reason why he attacks Kurt Angle when he's first going to the ring is because Kurt Angle has been waiting for everybody to get in. So he's like, you know what, you punk, I'm just because you've been waiting, I'm gonna whoop your ass. He literally punches him down and leaves him out there and gets in the ring and starts fighting everybody else. And that's just storytelling. That was just storytelling. I have nothing to do with you. But since you want to be the champion and you'll stand out here like a pussy, I'm gonna beat you up. You know, so it was great, and that was things that I loved about Stone Cold. And you see my shirt. You heard it, WrestleMania 14. Stone Cold is number one on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. Like, he's always been my guy. He was the one that got me into it. He was just always been that dude. So that was my favorite to win, as like I wanted him to win. I was cool with some of the other guys winning because I was a Rikishi fan. Even though he was a bad guy, I was still a fan of him. If he won, I would have been okay. Back to being hurt in wrestling. So Triple H, it took me a long time to appreciate just how good he is, because I loved him so much growing up that when he became heel, I was like, how could you do that? Like, I really hated him because I was like, he's such a terrible person. But later on, you know, of course, we grow up, and I was like, man, like he really is like one of the greatest, absolutely. So I was a huge Triple H fan growing up, but it was only when I was older that I began to appreciate it. By that time, he had already cut his hair, and he was working the suit and then working, you know, a couple times a year. So I did see a lot of the evolution stuff, you know, like here and there. And that was the one thing, even when I was away from wrestling, it's one of those things, like, I think, like, even when you're away, like, somehow you just know what was going on. Like John Cena, I'm not a huge John Cena fan because I didn't watch John Cena's run, you know, but I knew about it. Like, I kind of saw it, you know, so I don't really have like a lot of love on seeing him grow up because I was kind of away from him. But like I said, with wrestling, it's one of those things, like, you don't really have to, like, I guess, be on it to kind of know what was going on. So I knew about those things, and I kind of knew, like I said, Triple H's run when he was, you know, especially on a run with Booker, like, I know about that one, you know, and things like that. So just appreciate him as I grew up, realizing like, oh yeah, he's really good. But yeah, dude, when I rewatched that match today, his physique in that match was insane too. Like when he first walked out and he was standing there, I was like, dang, like I forgot. Like, and it ain't even that I forgot. I was young. Like, I didn't even realize that that's the physique he had. Like, now that I'm old, I'm like, dang, like that dude was like for real. Like, remember that book he had? Well, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were old enough to remember. He had like a workout book that he had wrote.
No,
it was like building the game or having a body like the game. And it was supposed to be like his whole like workout regimen, all this stuff. But yeah, dude, he was jacked in that match.
I think just also looking back at stuff, Triple H, it's really funny. Something that I keep seeing on Twitter recently a lot is that Triple H is being put on Mount Rushmores and everything. And a lot of people are like, if you put Triple H in your Mount Rushmore, you clearly don't know professional wrestling. I was like, I disagree.
Yeah.
Like, Triple H, like, he may not have been like at the top of, like, you know, people that we talk about in ways that, you know, like, for example, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, et cetera, but he played his part, what he was supposed to do. When the Reign of Terror happened, a lot of people hated it. Well, yeah, he was the top heel. That's what he does.
That's what he does.
And I also hated Triple H growing up because I was like, that guy just seems like a jerk. I don't like him. And, you know, like, and I guess I just always took him for granted.
Yeah.
But then after he retired, and obviously I started getting into the wrestling business and everything, I was like, man, Triple H was so fucking good.
Yes, dude.
And I really, really appreciate the name the Cerebral Assassin.
Yeah.
Because that is true. That's how he was. He was calculated. He was methodical. He knew exactly what to do, when to do it, and whether that was political or not, backstage or whatnot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the backstage politics should not matter to us at all whatsoever.
Yeah,
We're just
exactly,
fans.
exactly.
What affects us is the product that we see in front of us. So, as far as the product goes, I think he did a phenomenal job. But again, I also missed a lot of his run. So maybe as we do more episodes on this show, I'll have my opinion will change on Triple H.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, I think he's actually underrated for a lot of stuff, because we don't talk about him as being one of like the top tier, like top 10 even greatest of all time, and which I disagree with. I think he definitely deserves to be up there.
And I do too. And like, I love this show. So you said we can keep it real, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So 2 reasons why I think that is number one, like I said, you have your IWC. And the thing that I've realized is a lot of those people are young. Like young as in like 25, 26. So the match we're talking about today is 25 years old.
Yeah.
So I can understand why somebody will look at Triple H and be like, oh yeah, like he's not. Well, yeah, maybe not to you in the last 20, 25 years, because by the time you were old enough to understand wrestling, it's 2015. Like we're 15 years removed from the match that we're talking about.
Yep.
Like, and I've been here a year and it feels like just a couple months. So I can understand how fast time moves in this business. Like you watch it week to week, but there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday if we had SmackDown, if not Friday night. Like there's actual days between that. It blows by. So that's one of the things. And then number 2, I mean, the obvious. I mean, who his father-in-law is. But I don't think that has nothing to do with it, because you can look at a lot of nepotism, and I mean, you still have to be good at the end of the day. Like I think the only thing that nepotism does is maybe get you an opportunity quicker, but it don't save you from the chopping block. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that we can go look at that are not saved from the chopping block. So I don't understand the whole argument with nepotism or, that guy's getting more than I am. Like at the end of the day, it's a job. Like you can go work at the credit union and there's going to be somebody that's going to get promoted before you. And it's going to be the same. It's nepotism? No, he just works harder than you. Like he puts on a better show than you. That's the same thing. We're looking at this like a business. We can't look at the fact that this guy's over or this guy's getting the opportunity. Like you get the opportunity where you can get it. Like don't worry about what he's getting. Worry about how you can capitalize and help that opportunity.
Yeah.
One of the things that I heard, I think it was Jericho. Jericho was talking about how he was kind of upset that he was working Fandango at WrestleMania, and he was like, man, like he was just kind of frustrated because he's like, man, after everything I've kind of done in this company, like just feel like that's not the person that I should be wrestling at WrestleMania. And that Undertaker had told him, like, you're going out there to do a job. Like your job is to get this kid over. Like do it. Like he's not going to do it himself. And Jericho was like, man, like, I guess I didn't really look at it like that. Like, yeah, we're looking at you like you're the guy that we know can do this. Like, because it's a team. Like, we're carrying this thing. Like, it takes 2 to tango. Takes 2 to tango.
No pun intended.
Yes, exactly. So, I feel like being back here, and being in the business, kind of looking at it when I kind of, hear in interviews or hear someone saying, oh, it's this and it's that. I'm like, dude, it could happen anywhere, Bubba. Like, just if that guy's the guy, and that's what they're saying, how can I get in a match with this guy to help this guy stay the guy? Because you know what's going to happen? I'm going to walk back behind this curtain, and they're going to pat him on the back, and they're going to pat me on the back, and they're going to tell me thank you because you helped this guy be the guy. And that's how you got to look at it. Like we're helping each other. I don't even know how I got on that. Oh, to Triple H. So I think a lot of people take away the fact that who his father-in-law is.
Yeah.
Take all that away, dude. Like it doesn't matter. He still had to go out there and do what he had to do. Yes, maybe he got different opportunities other than everybody else. It doesn't matter. He still had to capitalize on those opportunities. Like, it is what it is. Like, bro, I ain't trying to get biblical, man. We can do some parables, like, of the denarius. Like, you got to make something out of it. You're given an opportunity, you have to make something out of it. If I give you a seed, if you just hold that seed, it's not going to grow. You got to go put it in some dirt. We got to water it. And that's all I'm saying. So I think that's where that comes from, is people just being too young. And then just looking at, oh, it's just handouts, that mentality of I'll never get over because of this guy. No, you're not going to get over because you're worried about this guy. But that's my tangent. But I think that's why. I think Triple H is one of the most phenomenal heels, one of the most phenomenal workers, and just talent. And just watch, if you just watch how he grew, like I got to see like the evolution, for say, of Triple H, of being Hunter Hearst Helmsley and then becoming Triple H. Like those are two totally different people. Like the name change is a whole entire gimmick change. Like Hunter Hearst Helmsley is not Triple H. Like it's different. And it's when you see that, you're like, oh man, I see. Like Hunter was in Sean's shadow for years. And then the infamous curtain call, got out of the shadow, but got in trouble and somebody needed to eat dirt. He happened to be the one. And because he did it with a smile, I'm not saying you eat dirt with a smile. Like you do what you got to do as a man and for your life. But I'm just saying he did what he had to do. And the fruits of his labor is paid off. Anybody that's having a conversation otherwise and pooping on the fact that that's what's going on, like you're just an idiot, like you're stupid. You would have taken your ball and went home. When Vince would have said for you to eat shit and like it, you would have went home. And that's fine. I'm not saying anybody that went home is being a punk. Like you do what you got to do as a man. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to feed his family. Whatever your motivation is to get in this, whether it's to make it to WWE, TNA, AEW, whatever, or whether it's to stay in the indies. My only thing is be the best damn wrestler that you can be. If you're going to be on the indies, make sure that when you leave, they say, damn, that dude was killing it there. Or if you go to TNA or wherever it is that you go to, like, just be that. Like, taking bumps every weekend for nothing is just diabolical, bro.
Sometimes people do it for the love of the game.
They do. But you can't complain when somebody else is getting above in the game. And that's the people I'm talking to. There's people who are mad at people who are getting somewhere in the game, but you're just taking bumps for the weekend. Well then, Bubba, then I don't know what to tell you.
And that's something that I also take to people that I meet nowadays. Like my conversations at first, whenever I was talking to like, you know, the younger talent and stuff, because it hit me like 2 years ago or so that I'm no longer the new guy, even though I've been here for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Like people see me as the veteran. And I was like, I'm still learning, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about, but then it's like, holy crap, I have been here for 8 years.
Yeah.
And you know, it started making me start approaching the talk with the younger talent differently, because I started asking them, what is your goal?
Yeah.
Because if you tell me that you want to do this specific thing, like, I want to be, you know, a wrestler at the grandest stage. I was like, oh, okay, obviously WWE. So let's talk about getting you to WrestleMania and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But then I started, you know, really changing the way that I talked to people. It was like, what's your goal? And then that's when people are like, oh, I just want to do this for the weekends. Okay, cool. Then let me shift what I'm going to say to you, because that's going to be different advice.
Exactly.
They're like, I want to make it to AEW. Great. Then work on your in-ring work.
Yes.
I want to make it to WWE. Great. Then work on everything. Promos, how to be character, how to market yourself, you know, all the different things and everything. And again,
You hear that? How to market yourself.
Yeah.
How to market your
brand.
Dude,
shouts out to Zilla.
yes,
He does a fantastic job with that.
Exactly. And I follow him. Like I said, I've been here about as long as he has. I've asked him questions. I've listened to him in interviews, and that's some of the things that I've told some of the guys that, you know, we've sat down, we've talked, and, you know, guys have asked me what I'm doing, or, you know, hey, what do you think about this promo? Or what do you think about this match? You know, and I'm like, the thing is, we're living in a time where the business has changed. It's a little bit different, and it's the digital age, and we're in the age of information. And the way I look at it is, like I said, dating myself again, back in the days when you wanted to be an entrepreneur or an independent rap artist, you burned your CDs and you went to the mall and you handed them out. You made flyers, like you put yourself on. So much so that the labels would come to you. Prime example, H-Town, Texas, Slim Thug. Sold more albums out of the trunk of his car and made more money out of the trunk of his car than he did when he signed to a major label. But what happened is that major label came knocking at his door because of what he was doing. And that was at the beginning of the digital age that we're in. So I say that to say this: you don't always need the machine anymore. You don't need your Vince or your Tonys, or, you know, anybody that's running anywhere in the office, because you can do this yourself. And like I said, you pivot on what you want to do. Like, if you want to be the greatest on the indies, you can be the greatest on the indies.
More power to you.
More power to you. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to figure out what it is you want to do and how you're going to get there. But marketing yourself is why I got on that tangent. Y'all heard it here. Maybe because y'all heard it from somebody else, you'll maybe take consideration of what I'm saying. Marketing yourself, you have to. And you're in an age where you can, for very minimal amount of effort and money.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely, I just had to tag in on that
No,
because you're absolutely right.
And that's again to where I start the conversations with people, and that because that plays a big factor. Because again, to talk about the match again, all these people were gigantic stars, and that's what made the match massive.
Yes.
And that's why I started thinking maybe that's why it's remembered so well, because it's just 6 of the biggest names, and where else are you going to get a match with that many names? That's not an elimination chamber.
Was week to week, brother, that we were getting, and we didn't have the draft yet.
Yeah.
So this was week to week where Monday night it was chaos. Thursday night it was chaos. Like this match was built up week to week to week to week. Like both shows, Bubba. Like now you have to find out what happens with Jey Uso next Monday. Like I have to wait a whole entire week. You didn't have that, Bubba, and that's why you were so invested. Because that's why I said you look at these guys and you're like, damn, like they were all stars. Yes, bro, and we were getting exhibition matches for no reason. For no reason. There was so much build around this match right here that in between time, you had an exhibition match between The Rock and William Regal. Just because, back to why Vincent gets into this, his insurance policy. All his top guys were about to get in the Hell in the Cell and possibly break their backs and end their career. So that's why Vince gets into it. He's looking at a money perspective like, hell no. Like, they're all going to get in there and kill each other. And that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, week to week, we were having the top guys so involved and immersed in this story leading up to this. Like, dude, like, you don't get that no more, bro. Like, even if you did with the Bloodline, you still had to wait week to week. And if you didn't have to wait week to week, you only got half the story because Roman was only on SmackDown. Usos were jumping back and forth. And even then, and I think that's what it was, like, building up because they were all big guys, dude. You were so invested because it was total chaos Monday and Thursday, because I think at that time SmackDown was on Thursday.
Yeah. The good times. I miss those days. UPN 20, shout out.
Yes,
that's the second time I shouted them out.
Yeah, shout out UPN, bro. Gosh.
But yeah, no, like again, you are making me think about this a little bit different now too, because again, the big thing going into this match, I'm expecting the spectacle, because I know Hell in a Cell is brutal, and I know that it's one of the hardest matches I've seen. Triple H and Batista.
Yes,
I think that's probably the greatest Hell in a Cell match that happened up until this year or last year with Punk and McIntyre, because that match was also incredible. And I mean, I also feel like it got a little, I don't want to say less dangerous, because they created the pay-per-view now. It's Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
and I was like,
And I don't really like that. I don't either. I don't like everybody having to wrestle in it, or them pushing like, oh, this is what it is. Because what they end up having 4 matches that are in there.
I think like three or so, like 2 or 3 every single time that it came up. But I think they did away with it this year now.
Yeah.
But I got used to, like, I guess the lesser quote unquote evil matches. That's why Punk and McIntyre was such a spectacle, because it actually deserved it. And based on the story that was being told, and it built up to it to the point where I was like, oh, these two are going to kill each other. And then we saw McIntyre do that Claymore where he missed, and then his back landed on the steps. Was like, dog, like,
I thought
power to you, because holy crap.
I thought he was done.
So I guess that's also what I was kind of expecting, just like the chaos confined within the cell. But then the reason I said I felt like the cell wasn't needed was because then, we see the hate truck come out and everything, and then they start fighting on onto the stage, and it's just chaos everywhere.
Yes.
So I really felt like the cell was only there because of the Rikishi spot. That, like, when you put it all together, from my point of view, it felt like it was just there for them to have that visual of Rikishi getting thrown off of the top by the Undertaker.
I think yes and no. I do agree with. I think initially there was always always a plan to have somebody go off the top. I don't necessarily,
because that's the spot. I mean,
absolutely. Because I think. Because prior to that, you had the Hell in the Cell with Triple H, which was the year before, and I think the year before that, you had the Hell in the Cell with him and Taker. So, you had to have like a big spot to go up, and then also too, this was the first time where you had multiple people in there at one time, and then not only that, you had people in the match that would not normally, for one, ever get in a Hell in a Cell match because it's just weird based on character, and then 2, you had people bleeding who would never normally bleed. Like Kurt Angle bleeding was a rarity, like to see that, because at that point he had never bled. And actually, I take that back. It wasn't even Kurt Angle that was a rarity, because he did bleed that night, and I believe it was a little bit rare, but The Rock bleeding was very rare, because Rock was not always bleeding. And when he did, it was always very, very little, because, I mean, it was The Rock. And a lot of times, I think if you look at The Rock, he was already projecting the fact that he was going to go elsewhere after wrestling. So especially if you look back at the match between him and Austin in Houston, the WrestleMania match where Austin turned heel with Vince.
I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, so that's a good match too. I like it for one because it's in Houston. We watched it live when it was happening. Huge Stone Cold fans as well. My grandmother was really into wrestling, so I think that's another reason why I really, really like it, to see like an older lady like have her favorites. And she knew people by name. Like, she didn't be like, hey, that guy or that girl. Like, she knew moves, like she knew names. Like, to hear her like tell like, oh, he's so handsome. I'm like, it's Mick Foley. Like, you know,
To be fair, he's a good-looking
like
man.
she could see through the mask. Like, I don't know, it was funny, but you know, like, yeah, she was really into wrestling. So yeah, that was a good one too. But I said that to say in that match, Austin bleeds. But I've heard a commentary where I think it might have been Mick Foley that actually has like where he's watching the match, he's actually commentating on the match, or is it Austin? Somebody is, either way. But they're saying about Rock doing it, that he was trying to do it to where he could get color, but not as much, because he was trying not to scar, because that heel turn actually led him to leave to go film a movie after that.
Gotcha.
So he was trying not to mess up his face because he was fixing to go film a movie.
Gotcha.
I don't know why I ended up saying that, but because the blood. So that's how everybody ended up bleeding. So The Rock bleeding was a rarity, and I think that was just order at it, you know, just chaos, because that was after, you know, they got out of the ring, and I think all that was just building on to the chaos. And I do feel how you can say that maybe some of the spots were maybe a little over the top, but it was just, you had to, I think, because you had so many guys in that match, and they did it. I think they did it very intelligently, because like I said, if you break down the story, every single one of them guys had the right to be in there. Like, there wasn't like a filler match, like Montez Ford, for instance, at the Elimination Chamber. I don't understand why he was in that match, but he capitalized on the opportunity he was given.
Performance.
Yes. But there was no reason for him to be in there, because there was nothing for him in that story. He had a tag team partner, but like I said, he was in there. But with this one, everybody had the right to be there. Everybody was pulled in to that story. So I think a lot of those spots had to be because, okay, this has to be chaotic. It's a Hell in a Cell. It's the first time ever we have multiple guys. Obviously, no one's going to get thrown off the top of this thing. But of course, Vince is like, well,
That's
we
the
didn't
point of the match.
Yeah, we didn't plan for that last one. Neither one of those spots did we plan for, but we're planning for this one now, you know? So yeah, I do feel the whole truck thing, like the truck was a good way to circle back around with Mick saying, well, if I lock you guys in the cage, then there's nowhere for you to run. Well, him coming out of the truck and ripping the door, and then using the truck later on for the spot of Rikishi, it's like, damn, like that's pretty genius though.
Yeah,
because
no, for sure.
You did, because honestly, when we were watching it, matter of fact, I was watching it earlier, and I told my wife, I was like, this is the first time that I've watched this match as an adult. I said, and as an adult who's in the business. I said, so I'm seeing things, and I'm like, okay, that's how he pulled it off. Okay, cool. Like, that's awesome. You know, and I'm appreciating it more because I'm like, you're watching it like this. Like, there's things going on everywhere. So you're watching the communication and knowing, okay, this is where we need to be, blah, blah, blah. You know, the camera's here, da, da, da. So watching them on the top of the cage, you know, the
flimsy cell too, because it was before they upgraded it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And mind you, the only other Hell in the Cells that we have is Mick falling through both of them, because he got back body dropped by Triple H the year prior and falls through as Cactus Jack. So Mankind, he gets thrown off. Mankind, he falls through. Cactus Jack, he falls through again. So at this time, remember, this is 25 years ago, I have PTSD watching this as a kid, like, and they're walking everywhere, and I'm like, oh my God, if he falls, he's gonna fall, he's gonna miss the ring, he's gonna fall on the sides, you know, blah, blah. So I'm watching it, and to this day, like, I'm watching it, you know, and my stomach is still shaking because I'm like, and I told my wife, I said, I don't know if I'm more scared now that I know it's entertainment than I was when I didn't know. And I think I feel I'm scared now more because I think I would rather see you get hurt for something that's not entertainment than be like, he just fell. Like, this is entertainment. We're putting on an entertaining show.
no one should ever get hurt, right? That's our motto.
Yeah.
Like we're
Rule number one.
Rule number one, no one should ever get hurt. We want to send these guys back the way they came in, back home to their families, right? So it was scaring me to watch that. Like, oh my God, if something happens, you know, this is bad.
Yeah.
So I'm watching them walk, you know, because like I said, I still don't know to this day if the Mankind falling through the first cage was a shoot or a work or not. I don't think it was a work. I think it really broke. But I mean, I guess let's keep kayfabe alive and just, you know, it is what it is.
There's conflicting reports.
There's conflicting reports,
right.
yes. You know, like I've heard the story about how Mick got thrown off the top, and when he goes to the back, they were fixing to call the match, and he comes back out, and the look on Undertaker's. Have you seen that match?
Not yet.
Okay,
it's gonna be on the list. Don't worry.
So Undertaker's shocked when he comes back, and I've heard Undertaker, and like I said, whether this is a shoot or a work, I've heard them commentate on it. He's like, I didn't know he was coming back. Like, I thought he was like done, like, because the parents to him, it wasn't supposed to happen. So, and I've even heard stories that apparently Mick says that Vince thanked him, but told him don't ever do something like that again. But thanked him because that was one of the nights it kind of changed a lot, you know? So either way, I'm watching this, I'm like, man, I'm scared, like they're gonna fall through.
Yeah.
But watching it as a kid, I'm thinking either A, someone's gonna fall through, or if somebody gets thrown off, it's not gonna be Rikishi. So the shock value in that itself is shocking, bro.
Because that's what, like a 350, 400 pound man falling
down?
down?
Well, they called him out at 400 pounds. And I know we can give or take a few pounds, you know, for TV, whatever, but either way, the fact that he got up there was already like, we were watching, I'm like, oh my God, he's getting up there. Like, he's crawling up there. Then he's up there, and like I said, I'm scared that this thing could give out. Like, you know, like I don't know what's gonna happen. And then even the subtle punches, I'm like, nah, no way. Like, he's not gonna do it. And when he grabs him, dude, and throws him, we lost it, dude. Like, I was like, no way. And like, even to watching it today, I was like, oh my God, like, that's scary, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's scary. And like, dude, kudos to Rikishi, bro. Like, taking that, like, back turned, bro. Free fall, no looking. Like, Shane. That's trust. Shane O'Mac, you can be mad all you want. I have a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. Be mad all you want. Shane O'Mac is one of them.
Okay.
Shane O'Mac's one of them. And we can go into it why someday, but yeah, Shane O'Mac's one of them. But I say that to say this. Even when Shane fell back, he looked behind him before he fell. Yeah. Rikishi, 400 pounds, did not look behind him when he fell down to that truck.
That takes guts, dude.
That takes
You
guts.
could not pay me enough money to fall like that.
If
I literally just said that the lumbar check scares me.
Dude, exactly. Dude, and I'm telling you, like, if he would have just been a hair over, dude, he'd hit his arm on the rail, like anything. Like, he had to fall straight back, dude, and bro. Like, so I see that spot could be crazy and maybe not make sense, but on the cusp of what Hell in the Cell matches we had, I think they were needed, and I think none of them didn't not make sense because all these guys made sense to be there. You know, but
again, to add to my criticism of the match, right?
Absolutely.
I looked at all facets of the match too.
And if I'm talking too much, please tell me to shut up.
No, dude, you're good. I love this perspective because again, it's making me think a lot about like, you know, the things that I may not have seen. And perspective's always good because you know I just like hearing other people's sides of it because if you were to ask me to talk about Sami Zayn and Neville from NXT TakeOver, like I told you when we started, I would go on a tangent like for like I've literally written like 3 essays on that match because it's so good. To me, it's so good. It's to me, it's the perfect match.
Well, you know what? Because you said that, I wasn't in the business when I watched it. I want to go back and rewatch it again because I watched it when it happened and I thought it was good.
When you watch it, I want you to let me know. That way I can send you the stuff that I wrote about it because you're going to be like, holy crap, you have loved this match for this long. I was like, yeah, dude, that's my magnum opus. That is the reason that I started doing this, what I do now.
Really?
But again, for every facet of the match that we're talking about, I talked about this in the ECW episode with Gustavo. I think JR is great. I think, you know, my goat is Michael Cole because that's who I grew up with and everything. And I was waiting for, like, you know, the masterpiece of, you know, JR and King at their prime. Yeah. And I feel like commentary was also kind of lacking a little bit because we depend on commentary to tell us the story of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a majority of the match was just JR and King reacting to look how crazy this is. This is chaos, etc. It's like, and I get it. Yeah. As a commentator, I was like, dude, I've called battle royal matches, and I'm like, I don't know where to look. There's so much going on,
and that's a lot different match compared to what Jim and Jerry were used to even calling.
Yeah.
Like, way different, dude.
Yeah.
Like, way different. So yeah.
I wanted to take points off of the match for that, but I was
Yeah.
like, as a person that's called battle royals before, that's like I don't know where to look until it's like the final 6 and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't even, because this match is chaos.
Yes.
It kind of added to it for me too, because then I'm looking at it from like, I can't. It's just chaos. That's what it was sold as.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That was the point of it, right?
Yeah.
That it was just going to be absolute bedlam from beginning to end. And even when the Hell in a Cell was introduced to the match, everybody's like, holy crap, this match is going to be massive. 6 superstars, 1 championship. And, there was just a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
So as much as I wanted to be like, this commentary wasn't great, I was like, I don't blame you, because it's like the Joey Styles thing too. Yeah. I wanted to take points out of the match. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I want you to tell me the story, but he's out there on his own. He has nobody to bounce stuff off with, like with Vic and Booker,
Absolutely.
or Cole and Corey Graves, or me and Sammy and stuff. Like, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
So like, as much as I wanted to continue to be like, this match sucks, this was terrible, like, et cetera, I was like, no, like there was just a lot of different things that maybe I didn't understand, or it was just hard to do.
Yeah. There was a few times, like earlier we were talking about Triple H blading, and you see when Austin walks away and then he comes back, and he comes back over there, and he rubs him.
That was for the shot, dude. That was 100% for the shot.
But as he comes up and he grabs him, and Hunter goes up like this. Hunter's face is still down, and you hear Jerry Lawler say, "Oh, look at Hunter's face." And then at the same time that Austin punches Hunter and Hunter goes to pick his head up, Jim Ross goes, "Oh, Hunter's been lacerated." Mind you, at home you haven't even seen that yet, so you could tell. I didn't see another camera on the opposite side. It must have been a guy on the outside, because the camera is here.
Yeah.
So you're getting the view of you're Austin, Hunter's here, the camera guy's here. So the cage is here. I can only assume that there has to be somebody on the outside, or the fact that it was called early. But it was one of those things that happened because it was total chaos.
Yeah.
Like, it was everywhere. Like, have we moved to the outside of the ring yet?
No, because this was at the beginning still, before the door had even opened.
Yeah, so now we go to the outside.
Yeah.
We have people everywhere. Is there anything you want to, did you have anything on the outside?
No,
okay, so we're to the cars.
Yeah.
And I love just funny spots, like Austin grabbing the camera, the boom camera.
No, that was great. I love that. That was fantastic. Because then they did the replay from that camera.
You just see boom. Like, that was genius. Like, I love little things like that.
Yeah.
And I think stuff like that reminds me of house shows. Like, I miss
house shows.
Oh, dude, I love house shows, bro. Like, when I realized that difference between house shows and TV, and now that I'm in the business, like, I realize like TV, time and things like that. Oh, dude, house shows are like that's where it's at, right?
It's really fun.
So I like when they do things like that, because to me that seemed like a house show thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So, but on a house show, nobody would ever see it, like just the people that were there. So I definitely liked whenever talent would do things like that. So that was a good spot. That gave everybody a chance to kind of get out of the ring and play into the fact that, well, Mick, you thought you were going to keep everybody in here, and you're not, and so you have total chaos on the outside. You got people getting thrown over cars, people getting thrown through windshields. A lot of that was just, I think, for that, honestly, I think that was just for the fans, because Hell in a Cell is a cool match to watch, but I think being there and actually watching it's kind of crappy. I think I would rather see a Hell in a Cell match on TV, because you get the camera shot inside the ring, versus when you're there, it doesn't matter how close or how far you are, you just see cage. So I think that them getting out was a play on the fact that, Mick, you're not going to keep us in here, but just a lot of that, because there wasn't really nothing going on. There was just a lot of brawling, just a lot of throwing each other on cars, a lot of filler spots.
I feel like I saw no moves except finishers and brawling.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. And I think it was just giving the fans that paid good money, like, hey, you guys can see
You want
them.
chaos, here's your chaos.
Yes, you want to be able to see these guys, like, here you can see these guys. So that was a filler part, so I could see how that would be like, okay, we didn't need that. But getting back into the ring, like do you have any more notes? Because we're towards the end. And
no, I have like one more thing for the finish and stuff, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. So I'm leading into the finish. Do you want to hit me first, or you want me
to... we see Rikishi up at the top.
Yes.
And then the choke slam, and then that basically eliminates Rikishi and everything. And then I think just Before we get into the finish, there's one more thing that I feel that I wanted to commentate on because I'm not a kid of the Attitude Era. That's not the era that I grew up in.
Yes, sir.
For me, it was the Attitude Era or the
Ruthless
Aggression era. So that was my years, right? I feel like this is something that we talked about in the ECW episode as well. Like there's perceived notions of like previous eras, you know, like with ECW, you think that that's going to be all hardcore. There's going to be tables, flaming tables, chairs everywhere, you know, just the hardcore stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when I watched that match, I was like, that was not what I expected. It was like an actual match. They maybe had like a chair spot here and there, but I was expecting like flaming tables and everything, you know, because that's just kind of like the perception, right? So I was kind of, I feel like for what people think the Attitude Era is, I think this is a perfect representation of this was the Attitude Era, but it wasn't. Like this is what people believe the Attitude Era was at its heart. Does that make sense?
Like they believe this match was?
Yeah, because a lot of people think about the Attitude Era, they're not like, oh, this match was phenomenal, like the work rate in this match, et cetera, et cetera. It was all like the male soap opera stuff, right? The Attitude Era was full on male soap opera. That's what it was.
Absolutely.
So I feel like this is like the prime example of like, this is what people believe the Attitude Era was.
I think yes, if someone who doesn't know.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see that. And I think that is because all of those guys, like I said, were the face of the Attitude Era. And like I said, that was a rare occasion now, like I said, that you're literally getting these massive superstars like week to week. And that's another thing. Like I don't know how to say this without sounding like a total douchebag, but I think people who understand what we're talking about and then also are in the business and understand that when you say that all of these guys were stars, it was like literally like each one of these guys was a main eventer.
Yep.
Like you don't get that now. You get like one main event guy, you get a guy that's on his rise to the main event, you get the hottest mid-carder, and then you get, you know, someone who can work really good. Yeah. You know? And that's good. Like I said, we're a team, we're putting a show together. But just back then, like every one of those guys was a star. Like, was it you earlier that we were talking about being a general in the ring?
I'm not sure.
Where did I hear that? I heard that something. I was listening to something. Oh, I think it was on you and Gaspar. You were talking about, yes, it was you and Gaspar's. I was listening to y'all's podcast, and you were talking about, I think it was him or you were talking about, Booker would say, hey, be a general in the ring. Like, and you were like, I don't know what that means, but I do now. Well, I know what that means now based off of listening to hear you say it and then knowing now in the business what it is. I couldn't tell you who it was watching that match because they were all that guy. Now I have maybe an instance on, okay, it was probably Taker, but I don't think it was actually Taker. I think collectively it was literally every single one of those guys. I don't think that there was one single guy in that match that was being told what to do the whole time. Yeah, I literally believe they were all like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it, this is how we're gonna do it. Because if you even watch how the match played out, when the camera would pan out, like you'd have a segment here and then boom, 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 we'd roll out and then somebody else would get in. The camera's main focus is here. So you could see how that was put together. And when it comes to the Attitude Era, I see how people can see that, but the Attitude Era was exactly what it sounds like. What made the Attitude Era, it was the attitude. It was the change in the way they were acting, the way they were personifying themselves. We went from the golden age of Big Moss Man being a weekend wrestler, but Monday through Friday, he was a police officer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we believe. Like, that's what it was. To, okay, no one's buying that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, even in the indies, you know, like, I think to get a character over, like, there's cool stuff that you can do. Like, you know, you always want to be different with anything that you're doing, especially in, you know, in a business like this. Like, anybody, you know, and I say this just, you know, I guess in a biased sense, you know, lack of a better term, but I could probably say that anybody can take a bump. But not everybody can tell a story. Not everybody can be a character. Not everybody could do what it takes to do after you take this bump. So with Attitude, it literally changed the way they were acting. If you look at Attitude Era as anything other than that, then you completely miss it. Because that's literally what it is. Like, it was just being able to say, okay, the jig is up. The people who have grown up in the golden age now realize, okay, so now what are we going to do? So now we have to change it. But we were on the cusp, and we've all heard the stories of, you know, MTV and, you know, rap music and rock. Like, the attitude in the kids was changing to where it was You wanted to be more cooler. And that's literally what it was. The Attitude Era was a cool era to be a wrestler. Like, all the wrestlers were cool. Like, The Rock. Man, I used to sit and think, like, man, that dude is a total a-hole. Like, I used to envision him sitting, you know, is this cooked medium rare? It doesn't matter if it's cooked. I believe that that's what he did. I was like, damn, like, that guy must be a total doucher, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it's supposed to be. Like, and I think something like that would be hard to work. That's why I said LA Knight, for instance. I get it. I think we all get it. But are we mad at the fact that he was able to look at all his favorite guys and roll them up all into one and become LA Knight? Are we mad about that? Or are we mad about the fact that we didn't figure that out? He took some of the greatest talents and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it works. And then people call him out for it, or he doesn't get pushed for it, or he's just a gimmick wrestler. Is he? Is he really just a gimmick wrestler? Because all of the greatest wrestlers were gimmicks. Stone Cold, the way he talked, that Texas accent, but was the face of the company, bro. Like, who would ever thought? There ain't no way. And that was even the story that they played, and that Vince was like, why? We're in Connecticut. Like, can't have this guy talking like this. But it was the attitude. It changed. It changed what a wrestler looked like, what you thought a wrestler was supposed to be. And I think that's what we can continue to do today, is continue to change what a wrestler is or what it's supposed to be, and still keep the value of entertainment, what wrestling is. I'm not saying that we're going to come in here and completely change the game to where we, you know, rebuild the foundations of the house. No, but I'm saying, like, we have to innovate. We have to figure out different ways that, okay, this doesn't work. How are we gonna get it over today? Like, it's the same game. It's wrestling 101. It's the same thing. We're all different guys. We're in a different time, and we're utilizing different tools that the guys before us didn't have access to. But like I said, the Attitude Era, if you personify it as anything other than the Attitude Era and the change of a persona, then you're completely missing it, because that's what it was. I really believe the Ruthless Aggression Era could not have done what it did without Attitude Era, because it literally piggybacked off of it. But what it did was it added more of that ECW and more of a little bit extreme, because, well, now we need to push it. Like, we can only push it so far with, you know, sex, or, you know, just being, you know, more upfront, being, you know, crotch chopping and stuff. Like, how can we make it more entertaining? So it just became a little bit more violent. But, you know, I don't know what led to that. I'm so sorry, but
No, you're good. Like I said, whatever tangent you want to go off of.
Because you were talking about what people personify it as. So that was
perceive it as. Yeah.
So I was just saying what the Attitude Era was, I believe, to me, and what I think it was. It was strictly what it said. But yeah, no, I do see, because you're right. Every one of those guys was the face of the Attitude Era. So yeah, I think you could easily pull this match up and say, oh, if I could pick one match to personify the Attitude Era, you could pick that. But it's only because it's the only time that you could see all of those guys in one place at one time. And I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go out here and say this, and we'll find out later. I want to say the next time that something like that was even attempted or topped, or tried to be attempted or topped, was, I think, the invention of the Elimination Chamber. So I don't know, man. I hope I change your mind to think that match is not that big, because I think we got the Elimination Chamber because of this match.
I agree, because I think the chamber, whenever I look at multiple person matches, I really like the elimination style of matches too. Because I mean, if it's a triple threat fatal four way, I think that's like the perfect number for it to be one fall to a finish.
Yeah.
Because it adds more layers to it. But when you start going to 6 or anything like that, unless it's Money in the Bank, I like the elimination style.
Yes, I do too.
You know, you have to find ways for people to, you know, have advantages. Why do you care about the order that people come out in and stuff like that? Like, that's what makes the Royal Rumble so successful.
Exactly.
Because it's 30 people.
And it's by far my favorite event.
I love the Royal Rumble.
Always. It's because it's close to my birthday. My birthday is January 22nd.
Nice.
And it usually used to fall, I think, on like the 29th or something like that.
The last week of January. Yeah.
So we would always do my birthday party that day. So I have like a huge love for Royal Rumble. And it doesn't matter who wins. Like, I could care less. It's just one of those things. Yeah.
Funny side story about the Royal Rumble. I always, no matter what, go for numbers 5, 17, and then 22, I think. 5, 17, because 5, 17 is my birthday.
Okay.
And then I forget why I chose 22. But so every single year, no matter who comes out at number 5, that's my person. Number 17, that's my person.
Yeah.
And for years, we never won, like, ever. And then Charlotte Flair comes out at 17 here in Houston, and she wins. And I was like, I got to see number 17 win in person.
That's it, bro.
But that's just a random tangent.
We gotta do a Royal Rumble.
I'm down. We did the Rumble this last year, the one that Jay won over at the place where I work, because I work at a movie theater.
Okay.
And we rented out the screen for everybody to do, just basically come by and watch. So the entire Row School, or the people that showed up from Row and everything, we got to watch Jay win in a movie theater.
Dude, that's tight.
So for him being one of our people, like, we were losing it, dude.
Yeah.
We were like just beyond ourselves. I was like,
yeah.
what better Rumble to watch together than
Heck
this
yeah,
one?
than
You know?
this
And then
one right here.
And we got to see Roxanne go from number 3 all the way to the end. So it's
Yeah.
like, dog, this was like the best thing that
She's
we
on
did
fire
this year.
too, dude.
Dude, we love Roxanne.
Yeah, shout out Roxanne. That's awesome.
So then we were going to talk about the finish before we went on that tangent about the Attitude Era and stuff. So if I'm not mistaken, I think what I wrote here was like it was a waterfall for everybody doing like a big mover and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Kurt just barely gets his hand on somebody as he's falling or something.
Yes, which is crazy is because the first time we missed it, I'm watching it again and I missed it. It's like ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, wait a minute. And mind you, I haven't watched this in 25 years. That as I was watching it, I couldn't remember who won. I was like, I think it's Kurt Angle or it's Triple H, but I know I wanted Austin to win. I know Austin doesn't win. So towards the end, I'm still like, damn, I can't remember. So when it happens, I had to rewind it and see it again. I'm like, damn, he got me again. And circle back around how we were talking earlier, there's so much happening that when the camera gets on him, he's already hit the 2.
Yeah.
And then he hits the 3 and it's over. Like no one even notices.
It was so sudden.
It was so sudden. But it was perfect because when I rewinded it and I watched it again, Rock rolls over.
Yeah.
Austin breaks it up. Austin hits him with the stunner. Then who came in? I forgot. Somebody came in and hit Austin.
It was just a whole waterfall. Like everybody was going.
Oh yeah, just immediately after he hit the stunner. Yeah, immediately after he hits the stunner, Austin just kind of rolls over, kind of sell like that took everything out of me.
Yeah.
And then Kurt rolls over.
Yeah.
1,
Perfect
2, 3.
timing.
Perfect.
Little scummy champion.
Scummy champion because he rolls so dead, dude. Like, and he had like a finger on him, like, and it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. I was mad as a kid,
of course,
but watching it to now, like today, I was like, man, I like that.
Yeah,
I like it. I thought it was a good match. Like I said, it was all the guys that I grew up with, and you don't have matches like that anymore. Like I said, we went right into the Elimination Chamber, which is a whole different game in itself. Like, whole different game. You got tons of guys in there that weren't even doing it, weren't even on the scene at the time that the Hell in a Cell. I think the only one was Triple H.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the return of HBK.
Yeah, so it's Triple H, Chris
Booker T,
Jericho, Booker,
Rob
Shawn,
Van Dam.
RVD, and I forget who the 6th one was.
Who was the 6th one?
I'm gonna say Batista.
Was it?
I don't think it was.
I can't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was, but yeah. But so as I said, I mean, this is a match that I think at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, or whether you rate it a 5 or an 8, it was the first of its kind. It was the last of its kind, and I say last of its kind because, like I said, today, even if you had a 6-man tag, it's not the level that these 6 guys were on. Like it's just not. It's just not like that. Like I said, the Elimination Chamber, I think, was the only other match that you could say had that level where every single guy in there was an absolute star and continued to be a star after that. And like I said, same thing with these guys. I think the only people that ended up making their way out was Angle and Rikishi. I think they both ended up going to TNA. You know, but other than that, everybody kind of stuck around and built off of that. But yeah, dude, I hope I changed your mind.
I think you definitely have given me a different appreciation of it, because like I said, when I was watching, I was like, I don't get it. It's just a giant brawl. The cell, like I said, I believe the cell wasn't even needed.
Yeah.
It was only there to have the spot with Rikishi later on, which again, Vince McMahon coming out makes sense because he didn't want to have the Hell in a Cell match. He was trying to convince people to not have the Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
So the story beats made sense, but like I said, I just wanted more context, and I feel like I've gone from like this match was terrible to like, okay, I see the hype, but it's still not for me. Which is fine. You know, everybody's gonna have their opinion.
And that's why I said I like the match, but would I say it's one of my favorite? Nah. It's just the Hell in a Cells are cool, but that's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys for a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, like I said, I defend the match and saying all those guys are great, and because I watched it. But oh yeah, I totally agree with you that we could probably sit on another match and say, oh yeah, it's way better. But for what it was, I feel comfortable defending for what it was. Absolutely.
So that brings me to the question that I always ask everybody when we finish talking about the match. Out of 5 stars, where would you rate this match?
Out of 5 stars?
Out of 5 stars. 5 being obviously the greatest.
5 being the greatest?
One of the greatest, yeah.
I gotta go with like, I'd say a 4.
A 4.
Yeah,
so there you have it. We have another 4-star match.
I have a 4.
We did it, chat. We finally got another immediate 5.
Oh, really?
Well,
Nice.
we did the Gustavo one. That one was a 4-star.
Okay.
But it's for a reason. He had a reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
But so far, everybody's like either 5 or 10 star. Because the movie ones I'm doing with 10-star ratings.
Oh, okay.
Because with the 5-star thing for wrestling, it makes sense. And then movies are a little bit different. But yeah, no, I've been waiting for somebody to be like, this wasn't a 5, but all that stuff. So
yeah, like I said, I give it a 4, and can I give you the reasons why real quick? So the reasons why I would give it a 4 is, like I said, based on the time that it was, all the guys were absolute stars. So that's a 1 for me. Number 2, it was a storytelling. Everybody, like I said, had a reason to be there, even though a lot of it seemed to be chaos. If you really break it down in the story, all of it made sense. Yeah. All of it had to be there. And then number 3, like I said, just going into a match like that, and the only guys that had ever actually been in a match like that was Triple H, Undertaker, and Mick Foley, who wasn't even involved in the match. So they were the only 2 in that match. Oh, I think Austin had done one, the Bad Blood one, I think.
I don't think that one happened, because this one was like the 5th one. Actually, you might be right. Because I looked at the history of the Hell in a Cell match to see where
they had a
was at.
first blood in a Hell in a Cell one time, and Austin accidentally got hit by somebody else, and that's what caused him to bleed when the ref woke up. It's a good match too. I have to check out which one that one is. I think it's Bad Blood, but So like I said, for those guys to not be the top, the type of talent that would do a match like that, I think it was well carried. So like I said, I give it a 4 based on the time that it was. It was a one and done type thing. And I think as long as it stays a one and done type thing, it can hold on to that 4. If somebody else does it, you're gonna have to get around what you're saying. Yeah. Not have spots that don't make sense, because I think now to do something like that, you're gonna have a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense because you're forcing it. That wasn't forced. Yeah. You literally had all these guys were top guys because they were literally all top guys. And it wasn't that the company chose for these guys to be top guys. The people chose for these guys to be top guys. Like, you had Triple H, who was a heel, who was trying to go after the belt. But the heel is a champion. And see, that was at that time where it didn't even matter. Like, you could get a heel and a heel fighting for a championship. You could get a face and a face. So it was wild because you didn't know. You had 3 faces, 3 heels. Like, you didn't know. So I think, like I said, I think now if you did it, like, you would have to force it. And I think by the end, you would be able to tell, okay, I know who's going to take this one home. Honestly, with that one, you didn't. You really didn't. Because, like I said, you had 3 faces. They was like, well, if a face is going to win tonight, it's either one of those 3. Like, I can't pick. They're all over. But then you get a heel. It's like, dang, well, which one of these guys is going to reign terror? Because they're all terrible. Like, I hate them all. So I think that's what it was. I think it was just one of those 50-50 things. Like, you just didn't know who was going to get thrown off. You didn't know who was going to win. So I think like that. The story and the suspense on that, you just didn't know. With the chaos especially, you just didn't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the time to come down and talk to me about this match. I think you've again given me a great perspective, and I think this is probably the longest conversation I've had yet.
I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, dude. Again, this was an open forum for us to talk about the match and everything. And I came in here with I don't know. I think I'm gonna everyone's gonna hate me after this. And I was like, okay, I'm coming around to it, because the stories, right?
I'm a heel.
That's where we are.
My job is to get you over.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Before
bro.
we wrap up, is there anything that you want to plug?
Oh, man, I just want to say thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, I love the business. Anything I can do to help you, whether come in, hold a camera, or do stuff like this, bro, I'm always down. It's absolute pleasure. Y'all already know who it is. It's your favorite ringside heel. You can find me at Instagram at RJ The Heel. Follow me on YouTube, The Heel's Corner, the vlog. We got Fall Fury this weekend, so we'll be tapping in, doing some footage. And, we're pretty much trailblazers in what we're doing. There's not many social media influencers that talk about wrestling or that are actually involved in wrestling. So I think we're kind of trailblazers in what we're doing. And like I said, we're just looking to tell stories, today, tomorrow, then, now, forever. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. That's my rant.
Bet.
And shout out to
the world's greatest valet. She just doesn't know it yet. My wife, Danny.
Hey, there you go. We love giving shout outs to our spouses here.
Absolutely.
My wife knows. My wife literally listens to this and she's like, I'm just waiting for you to say my name because I'm going to sneak her in the conversation every single time. But thank you so much for the time today, dude.
Yes, sir.
That has been another episode of the Miss Retrospective here with Kirby Carreon, and we will see you guys on the next one.
That's it.